All right, today I'm going to be reviewing this drone right here. There's lots on the marketplace. Which one is the best one? Hopefully this video can help you out. Let's get started. So lots to cover here in this video. Grab some popcorn, pull up a chair. We're going to be unboxing, giving you a visual tour of the drone that I ended up going with, talking about the app. You get to see it take off and land, tight space, navigation, outdoors, all kinds of good stuff. So you can press pause on that agenda to see what exactly I'm going to be covering from start to finish. But here it is out of the box. Let's get started here. There's lots, as I said before, available on the market. I opted to go with one. It had the price point I was looking for. It also included some of these extra accessories, including a carry-on case and the propeller protectors, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But let's kind of back up here. This is it right out of the box, brand new. And the price point I was really happy with. I waited for a sale. I was in no hurry to buy like in the moment. So I had my eye, I researched and had my eye on this one in particular for quite some time. And then it dropped in price and I was able to snag a good deal. And I'll put a link in the description below for this and pretty much everything you see in this video in terms of accessories and other options. So you can check that out as always. But this one the brand is DJI, and apparently it's like the Apple of drones. In other words, it's super intuitive, has a very clean look, and you can kind of feel that right out of the box and see that right out of the box in terms of how it's packaged and the wrapping that they use and all that good stuff. But here it is. It comes in a little kit, and if you're wondering about the price point, of course the price can change, but I was able to snag all this for about $300, $299 out the door. So that was pretty awesome, and of course I bought it online. But here's the protector for the propellers, and it also comes with obviously your charging unit and whatnot. I mentioned a carrying case that's really high quality, and I opted for 3 batteries because if you've done any research on these batteries, flight time can totally depend on ambient temperatures and what kind of maneuvering you're doing with it. But I thought it'd be better to have 3 batteries as opposed to 1. Can you imagine getting everything out to your flight site or whatever, and you've got you've got about 20 to 30 minutes or so, and that's kind of it. So I wanted to have that option as well. So that kind of factored into my decision-making process. It's got all the instructions, and here is the actual. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Let's just get everything out on the table and unwrap it here. So they've got 3 options for you depending on the phone that you have. This will connect your remote control to your actual phone. So the remote control you'll see here doesn't have a built-in display. Most of them don't. You have to use your phone or another device. They've got these removable joysticks, so I'll be hooking that up here in a minute, so bear with me. And a screwdriver to change out the propellers if you need to, and your charging cables, 2 of them. One for the remote, one for the drone, presumably. All right, so let's get this out. What do you think this is? It's not the remote, it's the battery pack, the charger. And you can put 3 different batteries in here at once and charge them all at once, which is really nifty. Now, in terms of transport, you're going to have to research what you can legally transport this in. Obviously, if you're going to your site in your car or whatever, but if you're going to fly with that, you need to prepare that adequately according to the law. Here is the remote control. This is pretty neat. They've got these very high quality joysticks that screw in. And why did they not just give you one that was like built in, right? Because of transportability. Like you can unscrew that and it fits into the case nicely and also doesn't break off as easily. So pretty high quality. It's heavy, it's dense, it's not feeling cheap or light or anything like that. Here's a look at the case, and let's get the moment you've probably been waiting for here, the actual drone, right? What does this bad boy look like? Look how nice it folds up. And obviously this is right out of the factory. It's got stickers and the propellers are kind of tied together, right? But everything is ready to go besides charging it up. In other words, you don't have to do any fancy prep. You just take off the stickers, read the instructions first. It'll tell you what you're going to be doing here. But you can see the vents on the underside, the power cord or the power button on the underside, and it's got a really nice camera. One of the best features of this drone By the way, if you're thinking about using your drone for making money, commercial purposes, you'll need to pass the Part 107 test. And I recently took this test, and it's awesome. It's really incredible. Very stressful, very difficult test. But if you're planning to make any money with your photography or videography, you'll need to pass that. You'll have to have your commercial license for that. But you can Google that, and there's lots more on that. But anyway, I'll put some links down below for that Part 107 test if you're interested. Now let's get back to the drone. You can see the imports here. It's got a place for your mini SD card and a charging port, so you can charge it directly. Here are the propellers. A very lightweight. Obviously, you want this to be not very dense, right? A little flexible as well. Now, I'm a first-time drone owner, so I don't have any experience flying a drone when I made this purchasing decision, right? So again, it had hit that price point, but had the quality I was looking for. And I also, I'll show you that in a minute, the propeller guards, but I definitely wanted something to help protect the propellers. They give you some replacements, but I wasn't really comfortable, right, if I bang it into a wall or something, or if it falls out of the air, like something to protect the propellers. But I'll talk about that more shortly. So let's just get these unfolded here. And I'm doing this with one hand. They do fold out a certain way and fold in a certain way as well. Again, very high quality. Once they're folded out, they're not going to fold back in. They're almost like spring loaded, it feels like. So once they're out, they're out. And of course you can, manually put them back in and fold it up if you need to transport it. But lightweight, it's 249 grams. So that means if you're flying it for recreational purposes, you don't have to register this. It's under the federal required weight limit. However, if you are planning on flying this for commercial purposes, like I mentioned, you will have to pass the test and then register that no matter what. But so that's one of the advantages. Now, once you load this thing up with here's a look at the camera. Really nice. You get to see this in action here pretty soon. But once you load this thing up with any accessories, it will push it over that 249 gram weight limit. Something to be aware of. All right, so let's get that cover off, and you can see this is the gimbal here. It is a little flexible, and what that allows for is, as we'll see once you get this thing started, when you fly it, it's going to have a really smooth transition. By the way, here's the battery pack, so we'll pop that in the back. It just the drone has a little cover, and you pop that up, and we'll put that in. But let's charge them up first. Shouldn't put a dead battery in it. That would be no good. So we're going to charge all three at once. And here is a look at the battery pack. Pretty slick, I think. There's your input for your charging. And it just goes into the wall. And the white cord plugs into a USB adapter, right, which plugs into the wall. And that's provided. And then you press the button here to check the status of the charge for each battery. So you can see each of them has kind of I don't know, it's been in the box probably for a while, so half a charge or so. So we're going to get those all charged up. And while we're waiting, let's show you what this looks like. Now you can buy some landing gear for this, because you can see if you're landing directly without any external landing gear, yeah, it's got a couple of stands underneath the props where it's not going to probably do too much damage. But if you want to give it a little more lift, you can opt to buy this accessory piece. It's like $8. It's super affordable and super simple. But this is going to give it a little more lift. And this is not included, or it wasn't included in my accessory pack. You might be able to find an accessory pack that does have, or an accessory package that does have landing gear included. But it gives it about an inch more height, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's actually quite a bit, which is nice. It helps prevent grass from getting up there, and probably helps with takeoff as well, so blades aren't hitting your propeller as you take off. So I definitely recommend that little accessory. Again, it just gives you a little comfort too, that it can Now, super long grass will probably have the same effect, right? But like if you're landing in grass, short grass or mulch or anything, that landing gear I think is helpful to protect the underside. So, all right, so our battery pack is pretty much charged up here. We've got full bars on all three. Now, as for storing these, you'll have to read the instruction manual. They recommend, like, I think, don't quote me on this, but depleting the batteries if you're going to store it for more than several months. But that's neither here nor there. Next, we're going to charge up the remote itself, and there's an external, there's an input there for that. So we're going to get that all charged up, and then we're going to install the app on our phone, right? Because I mentioned earlier that the remote does not have a built-in display or screen, so you're going to be using your phone, or you could buy another accessory to use an iPad or something like that. But I think phone is pretty convenient. Obviously, if you're using your phone, you probably can't take many calls or something while you're flying the drone. That could be a potential downside. But there weren't a lot of drones out there that had a built-in display. Anyway, the app shows you, you can see here on the screen exactly how to plug that in and get it operating. The app is pretty slick. It didn't have great reviews, surprisingly. I don't know why. I was actually impressed, quite impressed with the app. It had a lot of details and a lot of functionality. It seemed clear from installation to using each feature. It was intuitive, and I was happy with it. I don't know if I'd give it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I'd certainly give it at least a 4 out of 5 stars, maybe even 4.5 if I had the choice. So, and you can play around with the app. You can download it right now and just install it on your phone and see what you think of it. It's loaded, packed full of features, and it has the other options of this drone, or the features of this drone, is that it has GPS. So we'll get to see that in action in a moment. Let's install the propeller guards. I mentioned a little earlier that I'm a novice drone pilot, I guess you could call it. And so I definitely wanted to opt for this guard on both. There's 2 of them, and one of them fits over 2 propellers as shown here. And they basically kind of snap into place, and then they lock on. So there's no way these are falling off or coming off unless you manually take them off. And they're pretty lightweight as well, although as I said earlier, this will increase the overall weight to above 249 grams, thus necessitating a registration requirement. So the payload, any payload here, will push it over the weight. But anyway, I'm gonna register mine. It's of no consequence to me. And again, it adds the protection of the added protection here for the propellers, because I'm going to be testing this out inside first, and it's gonna bounce off walls a little bit. Whereas if these protectors weren't on there, it would just crash the unit, right? It would fall. So the protectors do offer a little bit of bounce. Obviously, if you hit something hard enough, it will disrupt the flight of the drone, and it could cause a crash. But anyway, we'll talk more about that soon. All right, how you doing? This is a long video. Hang in there. Let's get the SD card in. The SD card was not included, so you'll have to pay for that separately, unless you can find a better deal. And this is like a 4K camera, so you're going to want to get an SD card that has ample storage. 64 gigs probably or higher is maybe the recommended size here. Okay, let's get one of the batteries. It just pops in like that. And you'll notice the battery actually takes up most of the weight, it seems, of the unit. Everything's pretty lightweight. Electronics and plastic except for this battery, right? And here it is, pretty much ready to roll. We've got our vents and our sensors on the underside. Very sophisticated little machine. It has landing sensors, so if it detects something that's not landable underneath it, it won't land. You'll have to position it in a better way. So okay, so let's get the remote control here hooked up. We've got 2 antennas, and they slide up like this, and then you take the little joysticks and screw those in. And then you can pop out the bottom pieces as well. Those two big pieces of plastic to the left sticking out are the holders for the phone. They're like grips for your hand, right? But they also hold the phone. So let me show you how this works. We're going to take that short black cable that's provided. We're going to plug it in right here to the left side. By the way, if this is your first time joining the channel, click that subscribe button. Love to have you. Share this with somebody, and don't forget to click the like button if this is helping you out at all. Okay, so we're going to get this thing turned on. Here is the remote control plugged into the phone, just like that. It does work with a phone cover, but it's a really tight fit. If you've got a big phone cover, you'll have to take that off for it to fit nicely and easily. We're going to hit the power button on the underside, and you'll hit it twice to power it up. And the same thing with the remote. You'll hit the power button twice, and it'll power up. We're going to open the app on your phone, and you might have to download firmware. Yes, there are regular updates that come out, so you'll have to have the drone powered on so that your app can download the required software and pass that on to the drone, or whatever those two things do. The drone, in my experience, needs to be powered on in order for those updates to successfully happen. And so we're going to hang back and wait a little bit until it loads up. Another reason to have multiple battery packs, right? If you're out on your flight site and you've booted this up and it's asking you to install software first through your phone, through your cellular, for example, that's going to take battery life. So maybe do that before you leave, right? Okay, so we've got the update successful on the app, and we can go ahead and proceed. There's lots. If you're using the app for the first time with the drone powered on, it's going to show you exactly what to do, how to power it on. It's going to show you, take you step by step of all your your pre-flight inspections and your pre-flight processes, including getting GPS worked out.
Perform a safety check.
It's a beginner tutorial, so this is another reason why I bought it. The company DJI really kind of walks you through the novice through all of this. It's not for advanced flight or pilots only. So that is really nice. It has graphics. I'm super impressed with this. And you can go through your pre-flight check as well. If you're inside, it might have a difficult time detecting GPS. So this is a GPS. You can still fly it. This is a GPS drone. You can still fly it without it, but it's going to give you lots of warnings and say, okay, we can't really control exactly where this thing might go. But we're going to fly it, and it should over time be able to detect GPS with more accuracy. But just something to be aware of if you're flying it indoors. It might have a hard time. So this is the first. So I'm doing a screen capture here, so you're actually looking through the lens, the camera of the drone as it's sitting here on the bedroom floor on a yoga mat. So you can get a sense for what that looks like looking through my phone as I watch through the camera of the drone, if that makes sense.
Take off.
So you're looking at what the camera is seeing. And we're in kind of low light situations, actually. It even tells you lighting environment is too dark. So be careful. I mean, it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not night out, but we're inside in kind of a low light area. So I'm going to show you what that footage looks like. We're going to click the record button, and you can actually see the quality of this camera, because that's kind of what we're getting into here. You're going to see this thing be able to take off and fly, but also we're going to check out the camera functionality, the video mostly, if you are interested in that. Here's a slow-mo shot of it taking off. Now this thing is a little louder than I want it to be. It's got kind of a consistent buzz to it. I'm pretty sure all drones are like, I don't see how it can be silent flight. I mean, it has to make some type of noise, right? But that would be one possible downside. If you're flying this thing in stealth situations, I don't know why you would do that, but you're definitely going to let people know that you're coming. It's not overwhelmingly loud, but it's definitely strong. Now check out the camera feature here. I'm just rotating the drone. Look how smooth it is. Obviously, I'm a novice here, so my joystick movements maybe are a little abrupt. But you can, move the drone up. It's actually going to the top of the ceiling, a couple feet away, of course, not touching it. And we'll show you how it lands here in a second as well. There we go. Okay, so that camera is you can control the angle of the camera. You can angle it, 90 degrees in front, kind of like this, or you can angle it down once it's in flight. You can point it down. It doesn't go upwards actually it does a little bit, I think 20 degrees or so past the 90 degree straight angle, but it does angle down pretty much straight, perpendicular to the ground. So let's get this taken off again here.
Take off. The home point has been updated. Please
Again,
check
a little
it on
low
the
light
map.
situation. But look how crisp and smooth everything is. Let's bring it back up for you to see. And that's what I was talking about. You can angle that camera down so you can look directly below the drone at the beautiful yoga mat and the carpet, right? And you can rotate it. And we're going to get this thing outside here in a minute for you. Now check out the perimeter of the screen. You can see your height. You can see your GPS. You can see the record button. I mean, everything is really intuitive. This thing has 4K recording possibilities on video. Let's angle that down here. And of course, you can switch it over to camera function. Gives you a little bit better aperture. In other words, makes the screen a little lighter. You can take a picture. And this is a really high quality camera. I would say by far the best feature of this drone, meaning I don't care too much about the other features. A lot of drones will boast better features, like it can follow you mode, right? But I want a great camera. That's what I'm after here. Now, I also want to make sure that it responds and maneuvers well according to where I send it. So we're going to send it through some tight spaces inside manually to see how it responds for the novice person like myself, right? If you're a pro, you could do this a lot easier than I can. So look how choppy my movements are. But I'm just kind of figuring, okay, is it going to just run off on me and run into a wall? Or, how much control does this have? By the way, who flies a drone inside, right? Well, I do, because this is a channel all about do-it-yourself home projects, and I wanted a drone to provide some sweet shots when applicable. Plus, my kids love chasing it inside. So, all right, so here we are. It did respond well. It went through the doorway pretty well, and here it is going through the kitchen. Look how smooth that flight is. You can move it up, you can move it down. All right, now let's get this bad boy outside on a beautiful day. It is holding steady, holding still, holding true, locked into GPS coordinates. It is not moving at all. Obviously, a little bit of wind or a lot of wind could push that, but I'm very impressed how it's not flying away on me. It's staying where I tell it to stay. So let's maneuver this thing a little bit and get it going here. I do have a maximum. Let's bring it up there, see what's going on. You can set the maximum altitude for this thing so it doesn't go beyond a certain number of feet. I think in this case I have it set to 30 meters maximum, something like that. All right, another shot here for you. That's in fast forward a little bit, but okay. And how many minutes can you get with one battery? As I mentioned earlier in the video, it completely depends on weather. It depends on performance, altitude, maneuverability, if you're doing fancy things with it. And this drone has a few different modes, so to speak. It's got a sports mode, so you can make it, fly really fast, super agile, or slow it down a little bit. Or it's got a movie mode where it goes like really slow. So if you're looking for like fine control, and you can play around with that and certainly read the instruction manual. So it's really simple in that regard. It doesn't have like a follow me feature, but it's a high quality drone with a beautiful camera. Let's get a better shot here for you. I'm going to take it straight up and just look how smooth it is. This is in real time. I'm going to adjust the gimbal down a little bit. You can see the colors. Look at that. Just gorgeous. Let's rotate it just a little bit. It picks up the colors of the sky and the greens really well. And who's that guy down there? So again, you can angle it, kind of point the camera directly down underneath the drone. Let's check out the roof a little bit here. We'll do a roof inspection while I have you. But look at it pick up the colors of the shingles, for example. I love this thing. This is so awesome. Well, might as well check the the gutters a little bit, see if they're clogged. We don't have a lot of high trees around here, so it should be good. But let me maneuver it over here a little. Let's take a peek inside. Oh, we've got some shingle residue in there. When it rains, that asphalt shingle some of it kind of washes off in there. All right, let's give you one more view. We're going to take it off again, and we'll bring it around the backyard. You can control the frame, how many frames per second this shoots. You can control between 30, and it does do 60 frames per second as well. So lots of options. And if your computer can't handle like 4K, or if it gives too sizable of video files for you, you can bring that down to 2.7K or 1080. In other words, it can still shoot high definition, probably serving your needs, depending on what you're doing. And so I only use like 1080, for example. I don't need 4K because I find that those video files are too big, right? And I'd have to upgrade my SD card and all that good stuff. So that might be useful. So let's bring it up alongside the house. We've got a 2-story home here, and I'm never able to get a good look at these windows because they're pretty high up and you can't like open them. So for example, if I want to like clean them, I wish a drone could clean windows. If you could install like a little window washer, that'd be sweet. But let's take a look here and check the condition of these windows and the siding. So it does close-ups as well. So if you're, wanting to like get this close to if you see a bird's nest, or, well, don't mess with bird's nests, I would say. But if you're like, wanting to get something close up, like the side of a tree or something, it could definitely get close to what you want it to. And then it lands where you tell it to land. You can also have it return to base. It has that feature as well, and loads more. So you'll have to read the instruction manual, but overall, this drone is awesome, and hopefully this has helped you make a good purchasing decision. Thanks for being with me.